This problem is going to ask us to convert from odds to probability. And it reads, the odds of the ball landing on a black space on a roulette wheel is 9 to 10. What is the probability that the ball will land on a black space? And then what is the probability that it will not land on a black space? So in order to do this, let's first remind ourselves of what the definition of the odds of something is. So the odds in favor of something happening is the number of favorable outcomes divided by the number of unfavorable outcomes. So in our example, it's 9, that's the number of favorable outcomes, to 10, which is the number of unfavorable outcomes. Now notice what happens. If you add up the number of favorable outcomes with the number of unfavorable outcomes, that should sum up to the total number of outcomes, right? Because when you are doing an experiment or a trial, your possibilities are either favorable outcomes or unfavorable outcomes, and altogether that is the total number of outcomes. Which means that if we add up the 9 and the 10, we get 19 total outcomes. Total possible outcomes. Okay, so the question is why do we need to know this? Well, we need to know this because now we're going to talk about what the definition of probability is. So the probability of an event is defined as the number of favorable outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. Now notice, because of the work we already did in this problem, we actually have the answer to this already. The number of favorable outcomes, which in our case is landing on a black space, we said already is 9. And the total number of outcomes we found over here, and that's 19. And so the probability of landing on a black space is 9 out of 19. Now, the next question, what is the probability that it will not land on a black space? Well, in order to do this, we need to know what is the probability of the complement of an event. So let's look at that definition. So the last piece that we need here is the probability of the event not happening, which is also written as the probability of E prime. In our case, that is the probability of it not landing on a black space. So that's equal to 1 minus the probability of the event happening. So for us, it's 1 minus 9 over 19. The common denominator here is just 19. So we convert the 1 into 19 over 19. And so we get 10 over 19 as the probability of not landing on a black space. Now, notice something interesting. Had we gone back to the original odds that we had, and if we had seen here that the number of unfavorable outcomes is 10, that actually correlates directly to what we have here. So we have, the probability of an event happening is the favorable outcomes over the total. The probability of an event not happening is the unfavorable outcomes over the total. Either way, you're going to get the same answer.